What's up, my beautiful family? To my friends, family, and frenemies, it's your girl, Dr. Shonna, and I am live. I was laughing at some of my early people in the chat that is saying that I'm 4 minutes late, boo. Baby, she ain't late. She right on time. She is right on time because there's things that I have to do in order for me to go live and be prepared to have this conversation. So as always, I show up ready. I show up ready. Let me take my reading glasses off because I've done all the reading I can do for the day. Because y'all know I came ready with the research. So ladies, gentlemen, queens, kings, and everybody else that fall in between, I hope you guys have your pen and paper because I am going to be giving you guys some citations. I'm going to give you guys some facts that you can look up. But I want to get this thing started because I woke up this morning, ladies and gentlemen, I woke up this morning with a barrage of messages and DMs and YouTube links sent to my email and Facebook tagging me and all this stuff about Kamala Harris's birth certificate. And of course, I looked at her birth certificate and I started laughing, right? I started laughing. I surely did start laughing. But then I said, you know something, Dr. Shonna, you have to have a deeper conversation regarding the social construction of race and why it matters specifically in America, why it matters. So I know there's going to be a conversation that a lot of people ain't going to be ready to have. And we already know, dear moderators, that we're going to have some people on here in their bag. So once you start seeing their attacks and all the other stuff that's about to go on, y'all already know how I do. We can have critical discourse. We can have intelligent and critical conversation. But what we cannot do is think you're going to take shots at Dr. Shonna because you want to be a social media gangster. And I block, ban, and delete social media gangsters, social media wiggers, and everybody else. They get banned, blocked, and deleted. As serious as that. It's either we can have a critical conversation, it's either we can bring facts and figures, right? Or we can just shut the hell up because this is my platform. And people don't get to tell me how to have my platform, right? But we're going to have this conversation. Some of y'all are going to get it. Some of y'all not going to get it. Some of y'all going to like it. Some of y'all not going to like it. But I don't care whether you like it or dislike it. Don't get your hopes up high. Don't set me up for expectations I'm going to fail. I'm just here to educate. I'm just here to deliver information. What you choose to do with it, you choose to do with it. For all those people that on here that says constantly all the time, this is a goddamn shame, Dr. Shonna. This is a shame. Why are you spreading this kind of information? This is ridiculous. You're creating division. Baby, division has been here always. And as I always say, I am not the voice for all Black people. So, or, the so-called Black people, whatever that's called. I am not the voice for all Black people. So if you're coming on here because you have a monolithic mindset and you think that we're all the same and my voice is going to be for all Black people across the world, you're going to get your feelings hurt because I am not here for all Black people. I cannot speak for all Black people. I cannot relate to all Black people, right? I do not proclaim to know everything there is to know about all so-called Black people. I am here to discuss issues that pertain to those of us living in America having the Black experience. And most importantly, not the end all be all, right? But most importantly, those of us living in America who has lineage through chattel slavery in America and our experience. So there are two different experiences that I speak to. I speak to the Black experience on the macro level, and I speak to those of us right here in America where our lineage stems from America and the issues that negatively impact us in America. So I want to make sure I put that out there because I think so many people, we have some new people to this channel. We have new people to my Facebook group. There's new people there who think they know me and who think they know what I represent. And they're going to get their feelings hurt because you don't know me and you don't know what I represent. So it's important for us to engage in people that either A, can raise our awareness, raise our intellect, raise our knowledge and our understanding so we are better prepared to fight the system of white supremacy and racism. We're going to talk about 2 different types of racism tonight. So have your pen and paper, right? And then there's another group of people that comes to this page that you have to understand that I might not be your cup of tea. So if you are somebody who is all about the blue, vote blue no matter who, this is not going to be your page. If you are somebody who is pro-Trump or pro-Republican, this ain't going to be your page because I'm neither. I'm neither. So if you're looking for me to have a voice to tickle your fancy, this is not going to be your page. I do not allow people to finesse and manipulate my mind without me giving things that I talk about or things that I do critical thought, right? So I wanted to preface that. I wanted to preface those statements because this is not a for Kamala Harris video. And I do understand that a lot of you Negroes are for Kamala Harris. And that is fine. This is not about her being black, white, Indian, Jamaican, or however else she might classify. This is about the 2 forms of racism that I am going to speak on and how those in power have perpetuated systems that has systematically and systemically harmed my people. So we have to be clear of the page that we are on, and we have to be clear about the video you are about to see. So that is my disclaimer. Let's get it in, family. All right, so let's talk about Kamala Harris's birth certificate and the social construction of race. First of all, in terms of the birth certificate in and of itself, forget about the social construction of race. Forget about the classification of Caucasian and why that matters just for a moment. Let's just talk about Kamala Harris, 1964. Let's not talk about 2020. Let's not talk about 1999. Let's talk about Kamala Harris, 1964. Let's just be fair. We're going to be objective in this conversation. We're going to be objective. She was born to her parents as a baby, new in this world. So this is why it's important for us to know these things, because you got to understand the social construction of race. She was born an infant, clean slate, not knowing whether she's white, not knowing whether she's black, not knowing whether she's Indian, not knowing whether her nationality is Jamaican, because Jamaican is not a race. And everybody like to say, I'm Jamaican, I'm Jamaican. Okay, sit down. Go read a book. Go read a book. Your nationality is Jamaican, but your blood, if we took your DNA, it ain't going to come back Jamaican. But okay, I understand that some people like to wallow in their ignorance, and that is fine. It's not about that. But her birth certificate nationality doesn't say Jamaican, right? It doesn't say Asian. It says Caucasian. So starting there, and only there, I would say in 1964, she's forgiven in 1964. And why I say that is because she had no decision of how she was classified on her birth certificate. Forget about the construction right now, because I know some of y'all jumping ahead, and that's okay, because, you know, we love to read. We love to be informed. In this community, we are a community of critical thinkers. So I already know y'all 5 light years ahead, but y'all need to slow down, because you got to understand that y'all not the only population on this show. We have millennials who do not know and they have to be educated. We have boomers who have been taught, not all boomers. I know some of y'all gonna be in my inbox tonight and in my email. Oh, Dr. Shonna, when you said boomers, I already know how it goes. I got a couple of boomer haters, and then I got boomer supporters and lovers, and I love the lovers, and I laugh at the haters. But nonetheless, some boomers were taught to disregard their Blackness. Some of them were taught to erase it. Don't even think about it in those terms. Let's just be honest. And we're being honest. Let's just be honest. Right? So I want you guys to understand that in terms of 1964, leaving it in that context of 1964, I ain't got no beef with Kamala in 1964. She was not able to determine what she was going to classify as. Her parents made that, or her mother made that, right? Because she was born to her parents. And race was classified one or two ways during that time. It was classified by the mother's birth, right? And then another way it was classified is by the parents' identification. So self-identification, depending on where you was born, depending on the state that you was born, depending on the year you was born, that's how it was classified. It's not the same as it is in 2000, 2005, 2010, 2020. It's not the same. And see, the reason why I had to point that out is because many people make the mistake of reading context in the time frame of 2020, where you have to go back. You have to learn how to go back in order for you to develop your thoughts and your critical discourse. I hate the fact that so many people are having 2020 arguments without considering the context of 1964. Makes sense what I'm saying? What's up, Jason? How you doing? Right? Makes sense what I'm saying? So there's reasons why, when we're looking at the context of 1964, there's reason why her birth certificate says Caucasian. Because either her mother identified as Caucasian when she came into this country, or her mother made the conscious decision to identify her daughter as Caucasian. That's the only way race was going on your birth certificate. So why does that matter? Why does that matter? Right? So Super Seamstress is saying, my birth certificate says Negro for me and both of my parents. Yeah, it does. It does. I understand that. Right? I understand that. But we're talking about Kamala Harris's birth certificate. And the question is, it states Caucasian. Why? Why? And that's why I'm going through the context of race in America. We have to deconstruct the social construction of race to understand why that matters. So I have to sit back for a moment. And I have to do some laughing. Yes, some laughing, some gut-wrenching laughing. Because I was going to post about her birth certificate today on Facebook. But then I said, no, I'm not going to post it. So right now I'm going to use words as allegedly, because no one has given me the original source to tell me that this is an actual birth certificate. So that's my disclaimer. So I did not post it because of that. I asked a few people who had hit me up, where's the original source, right? So we're just going to say, let's say the birth certificate we are seeing is the original source, because birth certificates are public records, right? So I don't want to say that it's not the original source, but I needed to see it. I needed to see it for me. So because the conversation is out there, I'm going to have the conversation in the context of her birth certificate. I'm going to have the conversation. I cannot verify that what I'm seeing is the actual birth certificate because no one has given me my sources. But I know that somebody is going to provide it, and that's going to be verified. So today, we're just going to have a critical conversation. That's it. Just today, we're going to have the critical conversation of why that matters. So the reason why I was laughing today is because I said we can't make up our goddamn mind. We can't make up our goddamn mind. We'll see a birth certificate that says Caucasian and we'll say, so what, she's black, right? And there's a reason why when we go over the social construct in about 10 minutes, you're going to see why we do that, right? We can't make up our mind. But then you have somebody like Rachel Dolezal, and I am in no way, shape, or form promoting Rachel Dolezal. But what I'm saying is we'll have somebody like that who has fought for Black people, who have lived the so-called Black life, that we'll say, nah, heifer, you ain't Black. So I started to get a little bit confused. And then I went through the history of the NAACP, because everyone always likes to say about civil rights and the March on Civil Rights, and we know the NAACP during that time from the early 1900s all the way into the 60s, and even, I guess, in some cases, in today, modern day, right? In some cases. It made me think about Walter White. Now, y'all do know who Walter White is, right? Or y'all do know about the Walter White Project. I will hope that you guys know who Walter White is and that you know about the Walter White Project. Y'all might not know, but I have posted on my Facebook page a picture, and I asked my audience, when you see this picture, what do you think of when you see this picture? And I had posted a picture of Walter White's image, right? And people who did respond said they see a white man when they look at the image. Now, if you know who Walter White is, Walter White was instrumental in the NAACP during the time up into civil rights, right? He fought day and night to get an anti-lynching bill passed. And unfortunately, after he died, the bill was passed with the passing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Walter White was a brother, a Black man, who was able to pass as white. And Walter White went undercover into the Deep South so he can uncover the lynching that was happening. So we all hear about our beloved, and that is my role model, just in case y'all don't know. For people that know me for a while now, y'all know she's my role model. But y'all know I'm talking about the sister, the Honorable Queen Mother Ida B. Wells is my role model. And Walter White did what she was doing. She was documenting lynchings. So here it is. He was born in July on the 1st, 1893 in Atlanta, Georgia. Both his parents were Black. Everybody in his family was high yellow. They had the African-American experience, or the ADOS, as some would say. They had the ADOS experience, and they never denied their Blackness, but they also did not identify unless you asked. And if you asked, they didn't deny their Blackness. So they were built on passing as white. And the reason why they did that, because they wanted to avoid the restrictions that color or race has placed on those of us in this country during that time, and even still to this day. So here it is. You have a Black man who passes as white. His father was a mail carrier. His mother was a stay-at-home wife. And they both communicated to him, don't ever deny your Blackness, but also don't speak on it unless you're asked. So he went in and out society, both Black society. Y'all see where I'm going with this, right? He went in and out of society, both Black society and white society. When he was in Black society, he went right with his brothers and sisters and fit in. When he was with white society, he went with his alleged brothers and sisters and fit in, risking his life during that time. Because if anyone ever found out that he was in fact a Black man, he would have been killed on the spot. This man was instrumental. I'm bringing him up for a reason, because y'all got to understand why I got an issue with the whole Kamala Harris thing. You got to understand it. See, I'm going to back up my feelings with facts, data, and research. So everyone else want to come on my page or in my inbox or in my email with their bullshit with no facts, data, and research. I can care less about what you say. I'm as simple say I'm not moved by emotions. I just simply hit delete unless you want to have a critical conversation. If not, delete. I keep it moving. Boof, you don't exist to me. It's just that simple. Because I'm not going to go for all the back and forth and trying to tear me down. Don't know my life personally. I'm not wasting any energy to that. I would not even respond to such ignorant behavior. Really won't. So if you can't follow the bouncing ball, this page ain't for you. It's as simple as that. So getting back to Walter White and why it matters, right? So even though he was able to move in and out of the two societies, he fought until the day he died for the rights of those of us who have lineage here in America. I have to make that distinction. It doesn't mean that I'm taking anything away from my brothers and sisters. Everything is within context. We are now talking about 1918 to 1955 when he was instrumental in the NAACP. We're talking about the early 1900s to the mid 1900s. See, he wasn't fighting for anybody else at that time. He was fighting for those of us who had lineage here in America. For those of us with lineage here in America getting lynched, being discriminated against educationally, economically, politically. That is what he was fighting for. So him being able to navigate between two races was instrumental in getting laws passed to protect us. You see where I'm going with this, right? Not laws to lock our asses up, not laws to lynch us, not laws to keep us as underclass, but laws at his time during the mid 90s, the early to mid 90s, during his time, laws to raise us up to equal status of white people in America. Right? You understand what I'm saying with this? This is a dude who stayed on Washington. This is the dude who risked his life for our people. This is the dude who is known for advancing the life of those of us with lineage here in America during the Harlem Renaissance era. Read about this man. If you don't know about the Walter White Project, if you don't know about this man, I suggest you read about him. This is a man who sat down with both filmmakers and performers to change the depiction of how Black people was viewed in motion pictures. He was unsuccessful at it, but he fought it. He stayed on it to say you cannot continue to depict us like this in images. This is who this man is. This is a man who lived through the 1906 Atlanta riots. Thank you for that donation, Geek Moms, who's a member of the Iris Women. They go at Iris Women right there, right? Isn't our class awesome on Saturdays? Our class is thebomb.com. Thank you so much, right? This is a man who made his whole life about fighting for our people. For our people, not harming our people. Not harming our people. Not saying, well, you know something, if his ass got lynched, you know, he probably deserved it. You should have never stole that butter biscuit. No. No, not at all. So the reason why this conversation is important, because we got to first understand race in this country. Race globally, no doubt, because all over the globe, those who have ancestry in the continent of Africa is discriminated at. No matter where you go, They are fighting in Sweden. They are fighting in Lebanon. They are fighting on the motherland of Africa. They are fighting in Europe. They are fighting in Asian countries. They're fighting all over the globe. But we're talking about those of us in America. And why race in America, not only is it socially constructed, but understanding the reason why it's socially constructed. The reason why race classifications exist and what it means. So there's a reason why when people come to this country who otherwise are classified as non-white, there's a reason why they put white on their birth certificates. You got to understand that a person characterized or classified as Black in the U.S. may be classified or characterized as white elsewhere. You got to understand that, why that happens. See, not for all people, but historically, racial identity has been fluid, meaning one's identity can shift with experience and time. And this is why, sisters and brothers, or those of us who are fighting for the cause, you know, my B1 family, this is why we have to get away from the term Black, because Black is flat. Black is flat. We are flattening Blackness, and everybody can jump on that bandwagon and say they're Black, whether they are racially, air quotes, classified as Black or not. Because Black is an experience. It is a condition. You know what the late Honorable Dr. James Baldwin says. Everyone knows James Baldwin, right? I don't have to explain who he is. If you don't, do some research. But James Baldwin says that Black is a condition and white is a mindset. Check that out for a minute. And you're going to understand why it's so important. You got to understand why it's so important. So with race being fluid for some people, they get to classify what they want to, let me not classify, let me change that, my mistake. They get to identify how they want to identify based on their experience at any given time. Now, we understand that that's not true for all of us. So I can't go and say that I'm white. Because colorism. My melanated skin does not allow me to do that. There's nothing fluid about my race and or color. Nothing fluid about it. So I don't get to identify as anything else because my experience every day reminds me of what I am. Or how the world sees me. Or better yet, since we're in America, those of us in America, I know some of you guys are not in America, or how American society sees me. See, to be white or Caucasian in America, in American society, I can only talk about America, I haven't lived anywhere else, but to be white or classified as Caucasian means living a life with white skin privileges. So when you classify somebody as Caucasian on a birth certificate and they can pass as such, that means they get to benefit from white skin privileges that those of us who look like me cannot, who can never. Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Are you guys following me why this matters? See, but I want to be fair and let you guys know that the same may be true. The same may be true for white people, even though black people don't be having it. I'm just being objective. We got to be objective tonight. The same may be true for white people who have a black experience. You would hear many of them say, I got the white skin, but I got the black experience. So you would hear many of them try not to identify or classify as white because their experience don't lead them that way. Now, I don't know a lot of them like that, but I hear it all the time, and I read and research. I personally have not met any of them. Maybe I might know one. I might know one person from my college years who she has chosen for her experience to be black. She has chosen that life for herself, but it wasn't her life growing up when she was a child. When she was a child, when she was born and her birth certificate said Caucasian, and her experience, we're going to get into that in a moment, but when her experience all through life has been that of having white skin privileges from the community that she lived in, from the schools that she has attended, from the friends that she has had, from the cultural capital that she has gained, she chose when she became an adult and got addicted to black men, if we can just be honest, she chose to take on a black experience. And from that experience, she has always denounced her whiteness, should I say. And although the black community may not accept it, agree with it, or believe it, let's just say, I'm just trying to make a point that racial identity, not race in and of itself, but racial identity is fluid, right? Depending on your experience is how you're going to classify yourself. But unlike race, hear me out, people. Unlike race, social, political, you need to underline that, political and economic definitions of race are not fluid. See, race is socially constructed for those reasons right there, for those categories right there, for social reasons, for political reasons, and for economic reasons. Okay, I hope y'all following the bouncing ball. Thank you for that donation, AC. She says social worker lives matter. Thank you for blessing us with your amazing analysis. Thank you so much, sister. You know, social worker for life. Social worker for life. So yeah, I'm being as objective and fair as possible. Those who have ears, let them hear. For everybody else, leave the page. But nonetheless, you got to understand when it comes to our economic position, our social position, our political positions, that has never been fluid. See, race, the reason why race is constructed in such a way is because they want to have, and they meaning the people who have constructed race, which is not us, is white people. They have constructed it that way because they want to maintain and keep the economic power, the social power, and the political power. So when you identify as Caucasian on your birth certificate and you live a Caucasian life and experience, I don't care how you start to identify when you get older, because I just said to you guys, if you're following the bouncing ball, that racial identity, meaning how you identify yourself, is fluid. It can change with experiences, but your classification and your early childhood and all that experience you receive, it sets the tone of your mindset. Like James Baldwin said, black is a condition and white is a mindset. It sets the tone for your mindset. So let me put that into perspective. Oh, hey, Frankie. Thank you so much, beloved. Thank you for the donation. He says he never gets notifications when I'm live. I'm late, but I'm here. You ain't that late. The party is just getting started. So grab yourself a drink, sit down, and have fun. Let me set the thing for you. If I put on my children's birth certificates that they are white, and throughout their childhood, I sent to my children in whiteness. Now, y'all know I'm a therapist. I have had multiracial children come into my practice, right? Where one parent is black and the other one primarily would be white, primarily. And I have seen two different experiences. I have seen the multiracial children come in who have a black experience They are classified as Black. They are identified as Black, and they live their life as Black, and that is their experience. It's not fluid. It doesn't change. The society does not allow it to change, no matter how their skin looks, no matter how their hair looks. Their experience is Black. And then I have some multiracial children in my practice that comes in, and one parent is Black and the other one classifies as white, and they live a white experience, and they're so disconnected from their Blackness, and their Black parent is trying to get them centered in their Blackness, so they bring them to Black therapists hoping that's going to work because they have been classified as white all their life, and they have lived a white experience, and they don't understand Blackness, and they cannot relate to Blackness. But society sees these children as Black, and is messing their mind up because they are identifying as white. So the reason why I point that out, family, is because we have to understand the experience matters. Let me put that to you another way, because I know I might be speaking Spanish to some people, although I'm speaking English right now. I might have to say it to you guys in Spanish, but I'm speaking English right now. Let me put that to you another way. If my early childhood experience, think about psychology. Let's think about psychology for just a moment. If my early childhood experiences that shape my personality, that shapes my thoughts, that shapes my patterns of behavior, that shapes my attachments, oh my Lord, I'm telling you guys ain't ready for me tonight. That shapes my attachments. What do I mean when I say attachments? I am not going deep. You guys can go ahead and do your attachment theory. Go ahead and Google it and understand it. But you have to understand that when you are a child, innocent, and you depend on your parents to teach you how to socialize, to teach you who you are, to teach you how to relate to others, you form or formalize these attachments. And when you get older, you try to make sense of the world, because we are social beings. We are learned. People teach us how to behave, how to think, how to act. We're social beings. We do this through socialization. So if I am a parent who socializes my children in whiteness, how then can they understand or relate to the Black experience? But here's the argument that people are going to make. People are going to make, oh, but she went to an HBCU. But do you understand that non-white people go to HBCUs too? Do you understand that? Do you understand that I work with plenty of multiracial people who have been centered in whiteness all their lives, and now they're trying to make sense of their Blackness, because when they got out of their childhood bubble, because we create bubbles for our children, do we not? We create bubbles for our children every day. So depending on where you're raising your children, if you're not centering your children in the reality of race in America, you have created a bubble. So your children are walking around with other children who do not look like them, and they're trying to adjust and shape and condition themselves to act and behave like the people that they are around. So they start to adopt these people's cultures. They start to adopt these people's behaviors. They start to adopt these people's mindsets, because they're trying to make sense of the world, because we're social beings. And then all of a sudden, when they get out of that bubble, hence they graduate high school and they go on to college, the world is a lot different for them. They start to realize just who they are based on how society sees them. Looking glass self. Oh, I'm taking you guys through class today. The theory of looking glass self. Right? Which in essence, in layman's terms, we have a sense of understanding who we are based on how the world sees us and interacts with us. You tell a child you are dumb long enough. You're ugly, you're dumb, you ain't smart, ain't nobody ever going to want you. If you tell them that long enough, they begin to believe it. Right? You understand that psychology. The mind is very fragile. The mind is very fragile. So now we take this up, and now you go on to college, and you strategically choose a college where you're trying to learn a little bit about you, because society has told you you're not white, even though you have been centered in whiteness for majority of your childhood. You're now trying to make sense of this world, and so many crazy things are going on in the world. You got to understand, she was born in 1964. We understand the riots during that time. We understand the civil rights movement during that time. We understand what the 70s was like. When she's going through the 70s, as she's entering into middle school, leaving elementary school into middle school, into high school, prominent years of development and shaping of the mind, and trying to make sense when you were in elementary school and everybody around you is white, because she was bused to a white school. Everybody's around you is white. Your birth certificate saying white. Your parents done divorced. Your father done went and lived his life. You're now living an Indian life. It's, oh my gosh, you're trying to make sense of who you are. And when the world is seeing you as Black every day, of course you want to be around more Blackness. I see it all the day, all the time. I meant to say, I see it all the time. I remember going into college with certain Black organizations and groups, and how many multiracial children were in these groups trying to make sense of who they are. Because when they were home, they believed one thing about who they are. When they came to college, the people at college saw them a totally different way. College will fuck your mind up. You understand what I'm saying? College will fuck your mind up if you don't know who you are. Right? So you got to understand, you start to understand that race is a social construct, and it's defined by your skin color, your hair texture, it's defined by your eye shape, your nose shape, your mouth shape, it's defined by your ancestry, it's defined by the way you perform, the way you talk, the way you dance, the way you move. It's defined by your name. Trying to make sense of it. And then you start to learn as you get older that it's a social construct. Race is a social construct because it is used as a tool of systematic and systemic oppression, a tool of systematic and systemic discrimination, and a tool of systematic and systemic racism. So then it starts to teach you psychologically that white is right. Somebody ain't ready for this. It starts to teach you as white is right. Then people start getting confused, and they want to start having conversations that race is a social construct, and that's all it is, and we're all the same, we're the human race, we're all one race, it doesn't matter, blah, 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 blah. And what that does is just detracts the conversation from why it was invented in the first place, and why people want to put on their birth certificate that they're Caucasian, and why people want to get close to white, and why people want to identify as white, and why people want to be centered in whiteness. It detracts from that conversation. Because if we really have the conversation, if we really understand why people, when they come into this country, they put down white on their records. If we really understand why people, when they come into this country, and even if they're Indian, East Asian, or however you want to call them, they put down white on their papers. If we really want to have that conversation, we can talk about the fact that the construction of white, and focusing on the construction of white in and of itself, detracts from, it takes away from the reality. And the reality is the social construction of race is really the social construction of whiteness. So I'm going to pull from a research study, by a professor out of the University of Missouri, St. Louis. And her name is Teresa J. Guess, just in case you would like to look her up. Have fun, read her work. She breaks down the social construction of race and the social construction of whiteness. And she breaks down the history, and it's so beautifully defined how she does it. But I'm going to break it down to you in a Shonna way. All right? See, we got to understand the reason why people put down white is because what whiteness brings. What whiteness brings socially, how it allows you to navigate through the world, how it allows you to move in and out of different social spaces, how it allows you to build your social networks and your connections. Right? How the construction of whiteness benefits you politically, economically, educationally. See, it allows you access. It's like your American Express card, your black card. It allows you status and access. And the only way this is going to have to work is because you have to learn how to not only behave like those who classified as white, but you have to learn how to think like those who classify as white. Because white, like I said, James Baldwin states, is a mindset. That's right. That's right. And War says gives you mobility. When you're able to go in and out. I'm going in black world, I'm going in white world. I'm going in black world, I'm going in white world. Even if you're Hispanic, I'm going in Latin world, I'm going in white world. I'm going in Latin world, I'm going in white world. And of course, everybody can move in and out of blackness because blackness, we accept every goddamn body because we don't even know who we are and we want to be just like you. We want you to be a part of us. Thank you for that donation to Political Trap, says Dr. Shonna, dropping bombs, right? Knowledge bombs. I'm trying to, brother. I'm trying to. You got to understand, in order for you to be able to not only classify as white or Caucasian, you have to understand the mindset because whiteness is a collective norm. It is the blueprint. Listen to what I'm saying, people. Just like the researcher Teresa Guest says, it is a blueprint of increasing one's life chances in American society. It is the blueprint. It shows you how to get ahead in life. It shows you how to think and how to move in life. It shows you how to keep your economic power in life. It shows you how to get political clout and keep it in life. It shows you how to get ahead and move up the system in life. So those of you guys who cannot classify as white because of the color of your skin, you got a lot more melanin in your skin. If you walk in and say you white, people will laugh at you and probably diagnose you with a mental illness and probably medicate you and you won't be getting a goddamn job. We don't know how it's like to move up that stratification. We cannot have the conversations at that level because the minute we walk in the room, we are seen as non-white. I don't even care how much money you have because I know a lot of you guys like the arguments. Oh, it's Dr. Shonna, this ain't about race. This is about class. Class. Ask Oprah if it's about class and class alone. I thought she was like the richest black woman, even though we know she's not. But I thought she was like the richest black woman. Ask her about class. Ask her how it was when she went to Madison Avenue and they would not open up the store for her. They said it was closed. But when she turned around, her and Gail, a white woman, got buzzed in and was able to go buy her some bags. Ask about how she had to go on national television and talk about the mistreatment. And then they was like, oh, we didn't know that happened. We didn't know it was you. We want to give you a private shopping day and you can buy anything you want. Or because it don't matter how much money you have when you this color. Because when you walk in the room, they stop talking. They stop talking when you're in the room. So in order for you to classify as white or Caucasian and be able to move in and out of white spaces, that means you're privy to the blueprint. You're privy to the knowledge that you need so you can know how to move up on all the categories or in all the categories, how to gain capital in all the categories: educational capital, social capital, political capital, cultural capital. You have to understand how to obtain these capitals so that you can move up the ladder. See, whiteness has become the measuring tool. It has become the norm. It's normalcy. If you don't operate in whiteness, if you don't know how to move in whiteness, if you don't know how to act and behave in whiteness, because that's the standard in which it's measured, then you are now problematic. You now have disorders. You now have dysfunction. Oh, where am I going with this? Where am I going with this? Because if you see, you got political power and you can enact and enforce laws and create laws. If you can determine who goes to jail and for long, how long they go to jail and what jail they go to, if you can determine what charge they're going to get and what sentence they're going to serve, if you can determine all these kind of things, you have to now have the measuring tool of whiteness. And if you don't measure up to whiteness, then you are now devalued. And if you are devalued, your behavior is what? Abnormal, disordered, criminalistic. You got to understand, when you're able to move in and out of white society, when you're able to classify as white, you're able to defy laws that I can never defy. People that look like me can never defy. You get to defy them. You get to have privileges that I will never experience. You get to have a lesser sentence, although we both committed the same crime. See, if the white mother goes into school, she's crying that little Jimmy is not listening and she needs help, she gets services. If the black mother, because remember, she is the standard, whiteness is the standard. If the black mother goes in with the same complaint, she gets criminalized. She's a bad parent. She's not doing what she's supposed to do. She has to show up in court. She has to make sure her children go to school or she goes to jail. And when you are able to move in and out of whiteness and you can participate in those kind of laws and policies and enact them, then you have the power. And if you have the power, then you are subjected to enforcing and participating in racism. Oh shit, you're not ready for this. Write this down. There's 2 types of racism I'm going to teach on tonight. There's 2 types of racism I'm going to teach on tonight, because some people, they hear the word racism and they're like, oh, that's not me. Oh, Lord, she's talking about racism. It's not about race. You know how people get so uncomfortable because they lack the knowledge. They lack the knowledge. They lack the fortitude to sit down and have critical discourse. They lack the ability to unpack things for a deeper understanding so that they can increase their language and have better communication, so they can understand how you make one decision of looking at somebody because they're telling you that they're black, and you're saying, yeah, they're black because they're telling you that they're black, but you're not understanding the construction of race. You're not understanding the construction of whiteness. You're not understanding the implications and consequences of race and whiteness. You're not understanding what racism is. See, when we think of racism, we want to think of a hillbilly chewing on a wheat grain with a hat, a big belly, a red pickup truck and a shotgun in the back. And it might be accompanied by a Confederate flag. That's what we like to think of racism as. It's outdated. That is outdated. See, there's two types of racism. The first one is racism by intent. Look at this sister study. She did a phenomenal job with resources and documentations and a phenomenal job. So this is not my ideology, it's not my school of thought, but it is credible research from a sociological perspective. Racism by intent. What is racism by intent? Racism by intent operates at the individual level. That means the hillbilly with the pickup truck, the big gut, you niggas get on out of here. That's individual. That's individual level, micro level. And that kind of racism by intent, is manifested in prejudice and discrimination toward people who are non-white, toward people that do not classify as white, toward people who cannot pass and operate and live a life as white and or Caucasian. That's racism by intent. The second type of racism we're going to talk about right now, and why this matters, and why Black Twitter went up in uproar when they got her birth certificate and it is classified as Caucasian. You gotta understand it, is racism by consequence. So the first one was racism by intent, which is individual, is on an individual level, versus racism by consequence. And it operates at a macro level. It's no longer individual. It's not the little big gut hillbilly or the Karens of the world. Those are individuals. That's racism by intent. Individual, manifested in prejudice and discrimination, bigotry. Racism by intent. Racism by consequence is depersonalized. It's no longer on an individual level. It's not individualized. But yet, it is institutionalized. Oh, shit. You're not ready for it. You're not ready for it. You're not ready for it. It's institutionalized. What did I say? Those who have gained access to the blueprints of getting ahead and improving one's life's chances by understanding not only the social construction of race, but the social construction of whiteness, what it means to be white, because white is a mindset, what it means to move in and out of white worlds, having that blueprint to gain access to political power, economic power, social power. You gain that power, then you can perpetuate and act out in racism by consequence. Right? So how is racism by consequence reflected? Is reflected in differential education or differential educational opportunities. Who gets to go to the good school? Who gets to have the iPads in their house given by the school? Who gets to have quality books? Who gets to have extracurricular activities? Who gets to go to college? Who's making those decisions of who gets to have that access? When you determine law or enforce law, you make those decisions. If you're not in a position to impact law, to determine law, or enforce law, if you're not in that position, then you don't have that power. But if you are in that position and you're operating in whiteness, then you have a greater chance of living out racism by consequences. Right? What else? What else? Economic differentials. When you get to determine how much somebody gets paid, how much wealth someone acquires. Who can move into what community? Right? Residential segregation, healthcare access, death rate differential, incarceration rates differential. That's racism by consequence. Right? So race and whiteness are socially defined, and it has significant consequences. Because whiteness, when you classify as white, when you have the white experience, when you have the white mindset, when you're doing things centered in whiteness that is harming those who are not centered in whiteness, aka anti-blackness, then you're benefiting from the whiteness. And whiteness, the social construction of whiteness is typically seen as a strategy of authority. It's not about identity. It's about authority. It's about power. That's what whiteness is about. So there's a researcher. His name is Herbert Bloomer. He's from back in the days, a long time ago. And Bloomer states that the social construction of race and whiteness are linked to the history of social organization in American society, why American society was structured in such a way. Who was able to come to this country and identify as white versus who couldn't, right? And so when it was structuring American society, there were three main categories of people who benefited from whiteness. See, whiteness was about the conquest of the Indians, destroying the American Indians, right? That's how whiteness, that's one of the things that went into constructing whiteness. Come in, take the land, destroy the Indians, first thing. Second thing is the forced importation of Africans. Forced importation of, we didn't immigrate here. We didn't immigrate here. My ancestors was forced here. The lineage in which I come from, we were forced here. But that was a part of whiteness too, because we had to have somebody who was less than white to make the underclass. It's all about economic power. And then the third thing is the arrival of Europeans, Asians, and Latins. Ooh, did y'all hear me? Europeans come in, you know, one time Irish wasn't considered white, then they got their status of whiteness. Boom, give it to them. Italians wasn't considered white, then they got their status of whiteness. Boom, give it to them. You understand what I'm saying? Hispanics come in, Latins come in, and guess what they put? They get the privilege of choosing white. Asians come in, they were given the privy of choosing white. East Asians come in, aka Indians, they get the privilege of choosing white. So they all get to benefit from whiteness. We already know that race was created by Europeans. We know this. We know that the guy, the fake pseudoscientist that created race, he used non-scientific beliefs and science, non-scientific theories to create race. We understand that it was used to justify superior race versus inferior race, and it doesn't exist, but that's how it was used. So it was about power. It was about power and control. It was about access, right? That's all race has: significant social, political, and economic access. And you know what? We can get mad talking about race all you want. the conversation or the significance of race is not going to disappear. I don't care how many scholars from 1933, there was a book called The Division of Labor. And Durkheim has stated in that book in 1933, Durkheim has stated that race was going to disappear. Here we are 87 years later, and we're still talking about race. And race is still a hot topic because as long as a certain group of people are going for power, social power, political power, economic power, race ain't going away because it's how they maintain their authority. So when people choose to classify as white, I get suspicious of them. I get very suspicious of them. Because the minute you are able to sell one of our asses up the creek for your political power, your economic power, your social power, you're going to do whatever it takes. And you're going to have to learn to separate us from you. If you're not fighting for our cause, you're fighting against it. If you are not like Walter White from the early to mid 90s, if you ain't like Walter White fighting for our cause, then you're fighting against it. There was another known researcher back in the days, and this is in the 20s, 1921 to be exact. His last name was Weber, or Beber, however he pronounces it. But he states that race is no more than a manifestation of norms of endogamy. And what is that? That is a cultural rule that encourages group members to marry persons within their group. Why do you think that was such a big deal to marry outside of your race? Why do you think they wanted to have only intra-marrying, meaning marry within your race? Intra, not inter, but intra-marrying. Stay within your race. Because the strategy was the monopolization of social powers, political power, economic power, and honor, your legacy. So her parents were married. Mom, Indian, dad of African ancestry, native to Jamaica. They get divorced when she was young, a young girl in the primary years, maybe 6, 7 years old, somewhere around there. Birth certificate says white, bus to a white community. Bus to a white school is what I meant. Engagement and interaction in those age, those formative years when you're understanding how to socialize, because we're social beings. We're social beings. Right? We know this. You can have a black child from the suburbs and put that black child next to a black child from an urban community that may be impoverished. And you'll see two different behaviors because we're socialized differently. You'll see two different thought processes because we're socialized different. You'll see two different love of music because we're socialized different. You will see the difference between these children. That's why you have the class divide in our community, what they call some bourgeoisie, right? Then you have the class divide with the bourgeoisie and the underclass within our community. All communities, but we talk about our community. You have the class divide between the educated versus the non-educated. Y'all remember the talented 10th versus what was the other scholar where he was saying that was it Frederick Douglass? Was it Douglass who wasn't about the same school of thought as W.E.B. Du Bois? You always had these divides. We always had these divides. Right? So you got to understand, to identify as such means you have to keep that legacy going. Her parents got divorced. She was left with her East Asian mother, who clearly identified her as Caucasian on the birth certificate. So how might she have been raised? So I already know what people are going to say. Oh, well, she said she was raised black and she said that she's black. She don't care. She was raised black. And do you have evidence of that? Do you have proof of that? How many biracial children or multiracial children, let's just be honest, who their parents break up, dad is black, mama is white, the kids are left with white. How do you think the kids are raised? Booker T. Washington, thank you. Booker T. Washington, not Frederick Douglass. Thank you so much. Booker T. Washington. How do you think the kids are raised? I see them all the time. I engage with them all the time. You think the white mama is raising them in blackness? Black is a condition. Didn't I just tell y'all that the Honorable Dr. James Baldwin has made it very clear? And it was a phenomenal interview if you ever read it, where he stated that black is a condition and white is a mindset. So if you check in Caucasian on a birth certificate, I'm assuming that's the experience. Right? So those are the kind of things that we have to consider. So when her birth certificate got put out there, and everyone went in uproar, and I was saying, okay, we need to have a conversation of race as a social construct and whiteness as a social construct to give some credence to what people are saying and why Black Twitter is going crazy. Because people want to just say, oh, y'all just don't want her in office. Oh, you got to understand, you got to look at things in terms of racism by intent, which is individual, versus racism by consequence. And when you are in a position of power to affect laws and to impact someone's life, to make a decision who goes away to jail for 10 years versus who goes away to jail for 18 months or get probation. When you are in that position to make those decisions and you know your sentences has not been fair across the board, and what you have given Bobby, you didn't give Daquan, is not fair across the board, you are in fact enforcing racism by consequence. I don't care what you say. It is what it is. And if we can't think critical about those kind of things, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. The childhood experience matters. The educational experience matters. And people always want to stay on the college. Oh, she went to an HBCU. It's a lot of white people that go to HBCUs. And if you're checking white on your birth certificate and you go into a black college and you can get that financial aid or those scholarships and those loans to make it easier for you, why not? Isn't that why a lot of white people go to HBCUs? I mean, y'all act like that's something fucking significant. That's not significant. Who's giving the better package? Who's going to pay majority of your bill is where you go. I remember when my daughter, who is now a college graduate, whoop, whoop, I remember when my daughter was looking at colleges, and we applied to 10 colleges. She got into 8 out of the 10 colleges. 1 denied, 1 waitlisted. 8 out of 10 colleges. It all boiled down to who was going to give her the better package. I didn't care about anything else because nobody else got to pay her tuition but me. And I made a vow to my kids that y'all not graduating college with debt like I did. So who's going to give me the better package that I can afford to pay on my own, so when she graduates, she has no college debt? And 3 universities came back with good packages. NYU, tuition free. Just had to pay for the dorm. The dorm came back $27,000. You want me to pay $27,000? Are you crazy? You want me to sleep in a park? Crazy. Rutgers University, my alma mater, came back. Free ride. Just had to pay for the dorms. The dorms will come back like 11, 12,000, something like that. Columbia University came back. Awesome package. Awesome package. The same financial obligation as Rutgers University. Same ticket. Same ticket. Ivy League, public. Even though Rutgers is the bomb.com. What's up to my Rutgers people? You know, we're a research university. We play no games with research, right? Whoop, whoop. I love educating at Rutgers. But anyway, Rutgers, Columbia University. I can afford both of them. Where did she go? Columbia. So this wasn't about, oh, you got to be so centered in Blackness. I got to send you to an HBCU. That would have been nice. But if they don't come back with the same deal of what I can afford, you can't go there. It's as simple as that. I ain't trying to go to debt to give you a degree in 2020. No, ain't going to happen. I'm not taking out loans for college, and you ain't either. So how do you guys know that's not what it all boils down to? Oh, you went to HBCU. What the hell was that package looking like? Right? What is the conditioning like? What is the mindset like? How is she socially conditioned? So somebody was, oh, she black. I don't know. I don't know. What does that career track record look like? Does that career track record reflect racism by consequence? Does it reflect racism by consequence? So my concern, and this is my independent thought, your thought is your thought, mine is my thought. My concern is I'm more interested in what the strategy is. What are you going after? Are you holding that blueprint to success out there, and you're going to get your blueprint to success, economic power, social power, political power by any means necessary, even if it means stepping on the heads of my people, disguised in blackness? And when you say blackness, what does that mean? Because I don't like the term. Don't classify or identify me as black. It's so flat. Everybody gets to identify as black. Hell, even Rachel Dolezal gets to identify as black. Everybody gets to identify as black. It doesn't mean that you are black. It doesn't mean that you are situated in American descendants of slavery. It doesn't mean that you're going to fight. You're going to fight for our people for reparation. It doesn't mean that you're going to be just. You're going to bring justice to our people. It doesn't mean that that's going to happen just because you say you are black. And just like I said at the beginning of this video, if you think I am for everybody who has melanin in their skin, I am not. My voice is not for everybody. My audience is not everybody. My fight is focused. My activism is focused. So this is not about your feelings. I don't care about your feelings. This is about justice that is overdue. This is about justice that needs to happen. And if a man with one eye, purple skin, and two toes bring us justice, then I'm voting for him. I'm promoting him. If a woman who can't see, write, or talk is for justice for my people, then I'm voting for her. I'm voting my interests, not my race. I'm voting my interests, not my color. I'm voting my interests through my own intellectual, critical thought process and not by groupthink. You cannot shame me to vote how you want me to vote because I'm Black, so-called Black. You cannot shame me to do that. The shaming in this community is disgusting. It's sickening. The shaming disregards critical discourse. It disregards critical thought. It disregards research. It disregards documents, evidence, receipts. And is moved by emotion. So if that is you, my voice is not for you. It's not for you. It's not for you. It's as simple as that. I made that mistake once when I was excited about President Obama in his first term. I was excited until I saw how Trayvon Martin's injustice went down. And here it is. Here it is. 8 years later. Hundreds of other people later are still getting fucked. And our voices are still being ignored. And we're still with the age-old request of equality. Thank you for that join, Eugene Roberts. Welcome to the community. He's a topic contributor. Welcome to the community. I will send you an email. Or you have to email me, askdrshonna@gmail.com. I'll respond. We can go ahead and talk about the topics you're going to contribute to the channel. Thank you for that. But it's an age-old conversation that I'm tired of having. And if I got to have it till I leave this earth, well, be it. And then the torch will be passed to my children. So I'm not voting on color. I'm not voting on if we can even call anything sex anymore, because Lord knows what people are anymore. I don't even step in that area. I don't even visit that area whatsoever. So I don't know what to say. I'm not voting for those who classify as a woman. I'm not voting for those who classify as Black or whatever else they're saying. I'm voting for who is going to further the discussion and make shit happen for my people. Period. No more conversation. End of discussion. That is my class for tonight. That is my program for tonight. Somebody says that Aquarius. Yeah, you know I was Aquarius. You know I'm an Aquarius all day, every day. Right? I thank you guys so much. That's right, Black Agenda. That's going to be our next video. We're going to go over the, what is the Black Agenda thing that Ice Cube is pushing? I'm reading it now. Is it, thank you for that donation, sister. What did she say? The sister saying, hi, Dr. Shonna. The same people who are offended by us being characterized as a monolith are the same ones who shame Black people into giving away votes for free because candidate is Black. Absolutely. And we're not doing that. You cannot shame us, not our community. You can go somewhere else, but you cannot shame us. This community is disgusting when it comes to shaming. Just like I said in the class tonight, go back and watch the video. White moves as a collective. White is a mindset. Black is a condition. White move as a collective. Everything that they have done since they constructed socially race, and since they have socially constructed whiteness, everything has been through strategy, through procedure, through a collective. We all over the goddamn place. Anybody who say they're black, we like, oh yeah, come on through, come on in. No, they're black. They're black. What does that mean, they black? What does that mean? But I've seen so many anti-black statements by those who identify as black, and that's problematic. That's problematic. And then when people like me start fighting back, then we're divisive. No, we're not divisive. We're not divisive at all. We're calling you out on your bullshit. You can no longer come here and practice anti-black sentiments and anti-black behaviors and anti-black statements. Get into positions of power, and then you use your position of power to further racism by consequence, to further the divide educationally, the divide in the healthcare center, the divide in the economic area. You can no longer do that and think you're going to get away with it just because you're black. Take the mask off. You will no longer wear masks because we're calling all of you motherfuckers out. Period. You can't have a fight when you're wrong, and then when you get what you want, you forget who the hell you are. Candace Owens, you can no longer do that. You cannot come here, sue on a basis of discrimination, and then turn around and have anti-black sentiments and think it's okay because you got black skin. You are a wolf in sheep's clothing. You will be called out. That will not happen. And that's what has been happening. And so many of us have been bamboozled because we keep getting emotional by seeing somebody with skin that looks like us, by seeing somebody with hair that looks like us. We're not looking at everything. We're not taking everything into consideration. We're not taking their childhood experiences into consideration. We're not taking their educational experiences into consideration. We're not taking their social experiences into consideration. We're not taking their conditioning into consideration. We're not taking their track record into consideration. We're not taking their strategies into consideration, because everybody is trying to go for that blueprint that is centered in whiteness, the social construction of whiteness. Everybody wants that blueprint. Everybody wants that economic power, that political power, that social power. Everybody wants those powers. And they're stepping on our goddamn heads to get it. They're throwing rocks and hiding their hands. Oh, I wouldn't do that. I'm black. And we keep getting confused. That's right, brother. The only thing we have to say is cut the goddamn check. That's it. So you're not going to move me to vote how you want me to vote because you in your bag. Because you weren't here watching the video because I had Kamala Harris and I'm dissecting it and I'm breaking it down and I'm showing you evidence of practiced racism. And because your eyes and your ears can't fathom it, because your eyes see a black person and your ears hear racism, it's disorienting you, it's throwing you off. It's making you uncomfortable. You're living in cognitive dissonance. You're out of reality. And I'm here to give you reality. Wake your asses up. I love y'all. That's all I have for y'all tonight. Right? Somebody said Kamala is an ADOS enemy. We rebuke her. Bottom line. And all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Bottom line. Not my tribe. Bottom line. Cut the goddamn check. Bottom line. Right? I love y'all. See y'all in the next video when we unpack, dissect, cross-reference what Ice Cube and them got going on. We're going to talk about that. Love you guys. Be blessed.